Greetings, everyone. Today we unravel a tale called I'm the Villainous Male Lead's Terminally Ill Aunt. If you enjoy our work, please like and subscribe. It means the world to us. Now, let's begin on a dark and stormy night. A woman, heavy with child, confesses the cursed Duke is not the true father. She plans to flee the kingdom for her love, leaving the child in Sarah's care. She only asks that the world believe she has died. Years pass, and young Claude is consumed by terrible tantrums. He cries, barricading himself in his room, leaving the servants frantic with worry for the young Duke. The cause of Claude's distress is none other than 𝑰𝒏𝒔𝒊𝒅, who intentionally provokes the boy, nurturing his hatred. But just as planned, Sarah arrives to handle the situation. This is Sarah Milan, a brilliant woman even the emperor respects. The sole heiress to her title, she is now known as Countess Milan. Sarah knows the story has already been twisted. As for Claude Ambrosia, he's cursed, with dark rumors claiming he devoured his own mother. A family curse of consuming darkness plagues his soul, deepening his despair. Because of this fate, Claude, the story's male lead, is destined to destroy the empire. Only the heroine, Elena, can save him. Until then, a life of immense pain and a tragic ending await him. Sarah never imagined her novel's plot could become so cruel. May foolishly flaunts her influence, attempting to belittle the Countess. But Sarah knows everything. She sees May's cruelty towards Claude and puts the girl in her place, leaving her trembling with fear. Sarah then pleads for Claude to open his door, but he refuses. Without a second thought, she unleashes her magic and shatters the door, shocking everyone. Sarah made a solemn vow to Dalen. She would ensure Claude finds happiness, no matter the cost. In this world, magicians are incredibly rare. They live in seclusion within a hidden magic tower, known for being eccentric and powerful. Royalty desperately seeks their power, but the tower's location is a total mystery. Still, a magician is treated as nobility anywhere they go. But Sarah hides a secret far greater than being a magician. She was born with such immense power that her very soul had to be split. She divided her consciousness, creating two selves living in two different dimensions. One is the Crumble Empire's greatest mind, the other, an ordinary Korean woman. She possesses the incredible ability to travel between these two worlds. Time flows differently between them. An entire lifetime in one world is merely a single day in the other. While her Korean self, Pae-yoon, has the gift of foresight, Sarah wields immense magic. And now Sarah is determined to rewrite the novel she's trapped in. Still, Sarah can't pinpoint where it all went wrong, unless something happened to her other half. She knows Pae-yoon was in a terrible car accident. The shock of it had reverberated through their shared soul. The two souls are bound by an unbreakable thread. But what good was all her power in a moment like that? Suddenly, a knock on her door. It was the Duchess, Dalen Ambrosia. Dalen fell to her knees, begging Sarah to save her son from his curse. A wave of guilt crashed over Sarah. After all, she was the author of this tragic novel, written solely for her own satisfaction. If Dalen ever learned the truth, she would never be forgiven. A man who carried the world's despair, saved by a woman who embodied its happiness. A story about love and faith being the ultimate salvation. That was the core theme of Sarah's novel. In a flashback, she and Dalen would spend hours together as she wrote her stories. Sarah recalls the horrific vision of Dalen's death and the Empire's destruction. It was a future glimpse through Hyun's prophetic eyes. Sarah had watched the Empire fall while they hid their true powers. She couldn't understand her past selves in action, but she kept writing the novel as a way to cope with the pain. Dalen had always wished for a happily ever after in her stories. Sarah had simply written down a character's name, never dreaming that reality would mimic her fiction. Dalen had a child with her husband's brother, an unexpected heir who would become the protagonist, exactly as the novel foretold. If she had known this would happen, she never would have written a single word. But now, she's determined to change this cruel destiny. On that rainy night, she embraced Dalen, promising her dear friend she would protect her child. Back in the present, Sarah compliments Claude's cute appearance, but the boy slaps her hand away and runs to May. May is still in shock, realizing Sarah is a powerful magician who holds a title independent of the Emperor's will. Suddenly, the servants scatter in panic. The Duke, Ethan Ambrosia, is approaching. Claude freezes, fearing his father's disapproval. Sarah sees her chance to get closer to the boy. She offers her help, but with one condition. He must accept her as his new nanny. After a moment's hesitation, he agrees, desperate to avoid his father's scorn. With a flick of her wrist, Sarah's magic cleans the entire room in an instant. Just then, the Duke arrives, breathless from rushing over. Seeing him, Sarah can't help but wonder why Dalen would ever leave a man as handsome as Ethan. The Duke finally greets Countess Sarah, his apology laced with formality. But Sarah assures him Claude's warm welcome was more than enough. Ethan's praise makes Claude blush, but he's reminded to act with dignity, for he is an ambrosia. A chilling memory surfaces in Sarah's mind. Words from a story she once wrote, "The Duke can never have anyone special. The family curse forbids him from loving." That's why 𝒦𝒏𝒔𝒊 never felt his brother's affection. Sarah wonders what else her characters knew. Was she aware of the secret passed down the ambrosia line? The very power that would destroy the empire in her original tale. Shaking off the dark thoughts, Ethan explains they felt a powerful surge of magic and rushed over. Sarah admits she only used her power on a locked door. But Claude sees it clearly. His father's attention is now fixed on Sarah. After hearing of the mother he never knew, the boy feels utterly alone in the world. But seeing his father gives Claude a flicker of hope. Yet, as he reaches out a tiny hand, the Duke instinctively pulls away. Sarah witnesses the Duke's cold avoidance. Without hesitation, she picks up the boy and places him in his father's arms. They both look completely lost, so Sarah gently begins to teach them how to hold each other. The sudden, tender lesson leaves the two men utterly speechless. Duke Ethan Ambrosia, a man who walks a tightrope, balancing the trust of the emperor and the nobles. These two factions cannot coexist. But his own path is now being altered by the very novel that sealed his fate. He was supposed to guard the dukedom alone. But now he suddenly has a family. Claude cries, hugging Sarah tightly. She knows she must change this tragic future and confronts the Duke about the distance between them. She declares that before any education, what Claude truly needs is his father's time and affection. Before she agrees to teach him, she sets her terms. Full control of Claude's education and the Duke's complete trust. Ethan reminds her of the king's recent declaration, which has thrown the nobility into chaos and made him incredibly busy. The current emperor, Carlos de Cromwell, is a truly formidable ruler. However, he has yet to name any of his sons as the official successor. The nobility has split into 3 factions, and the Duke is struggling to maintain a fragile balance between them. A darker worry also plagues his mind, the curse that will one day engulf his own son's body. Despite it all, Sarah insists. She demands he spend at least 3 hours a week with Claude. Ethan recalls the artifact she sent him 6 years ago. That gift was the only thing that could control the power raging inside him. And so, the Duke agrees to her conditions, which includes having breakfast with them every morning. Claude is overjoyed by the news, but the Duke wonders why a woman with such qualities has no interest in finding a husband. Suddenly, a man runs in, shouting for his master at the top of his lungs. The man stumbles, complaining that the Duke had jumped from a moving carriage and sprinted back to the estate. He apologizes for his outburst and introduces himself as Jade Harper, commander of the Ambrosian Knights. It's Sarah who calmly explains the situation to the bewildered knight. Ethan, however, reminds him of an important letter that was left unguarded in the chaos. Jade assures him the crucial letter is safe, though he's still irritated at the Duke's reckless actions. The letters were well guarded. He only gave chase because the stewards and the lady-in-waiting had scolded him for not following his master. Ethan excuses them both, but not before reaffirming his promise to cooperate with Sarah, which she gratefully accepts. Jade is dragged away by the Duke, who then gives him a secret order: investigate Countess Sarah Milan. He must know if Ambrosia truly needs her. He also tells the household twins to keep a close watch on the other servants. His curiosity is piqued. Sarah appeared for the first time after years of complete seclusion in the Crumble Empire. She's the only one in the land capable of concealing her presence so perfectly. Jade opens the carriage door, revealing a man tied up on the floor. It seems the Duke caught a little mouse named Jim Wood. He betrayed the Ambrosia family to pledge his loyalty to the Crown Prince. Ethan deals with Jim before any secrets can be revealed. But as he uses his power, the control artifact suddenly shatters. It broke on the very same day its creator, Sarah, finally appeared at his door. Later, a pair of twins greets Sarah. They introduce themselves as the manor's steward, Baron Dwayne, and the lady-in-waiting, Rhonda Dwayne. They have a message for her from the Duke. Meanwhile, in his room, Claude is still feeling hurt and upset. He's furious. Her asking for his father's time means less work for him, which could lead to trouble. Sarah already knows Claude studies noble etiquette just to be loved by the Duke. She then leaves his room with a playful threat, leaving the boy to wonder about this strange girl who likes him even when he's cold. Later, Sarah has a discussion with the twin servants. Her position in this estate is ambiguous. She will work under 2 people, as a nanny for Rhonda and as a tutor for the Baron. But above all, as a countess and a magician, the Duke ordered she be treated like a duchess. The servants then present a branch pulsing with the Duke's power. This is the black magic of the Ambrosia family, passed down through generations. It withers a normal tree, twisting it to devour its life. If the power rages out of control, it consumes all life force around it, including the users. Sarah spent 6 years studying this curse. She knows it will become a danger to the Duke and Claude and bring ruin to the world. The twins reported the Duke's rampage just last month. She realizes the curse must have started manifesting in Claude already. The Ambrosia's dark power feeds on despair to grow stronger. For Claude, this despair comes from his mother's absence, and the rumor that he was born by consuming her. If two of these powers meet, their growth is exponential. That must be why Ethan avoids Claude. Sarah then understands that the tree branch isn't the only thing sacrificed to the Duke's power. The twins had their very expressions stolen by the curse. This is the Duke's test of her abilities. To earn their cooperation, Sarah reveals her magic, and the dead branch explodes back to life. She goes further, attempting to heal the twins. She must solve the estate's problems or risk being fired. The Duane twins knelt before Sarah, overcome with gratitude for her successful healing. Later, the twins prepare her carriage and bring her tea while she waits. From her 6 years of research, Sarah knows the ambrosia power must be paid for with life force to be returned. To avert Claude's misfortune, the cursed buds must be severed before they can take root in the child. She will do anything to give Claude the happiness he truly deserves. To do so, Sarah uses her original self, 𝒏𝒔𝒊𝒅's magical power, which is how she also healed the twins. Their very souls are connected. Any injuries 𝒏𝒔𝒊𝒅 receives are reflected on Sarah's body. Sarah vomits blood. In another world, 𝒏𝒔𝒊𝒅 does the same. She feels like she belongs in neither world. So if 𝒏𝒔𝒊𝒅 gives up her life, it would be a relief. Supporting 2 lives is a great burden. Sarah then worries about her disciples from the Magic Tower, who keep sending messages to her artifact. She revealed everything to them to study the curse, which only made them fiercely overprotective of her. Just then, Yuri and Diane arrived, crying, begging Sarah not to stay at the Duke's estate. A servant feels moved by their devotion. Claude watches them, comparing their love for Sarah to the little he has. Suddenly, Sarah sweeps him into her arms, cheering him up and promising to spend time with him. She assures Claude that he is loved. It's just that people are afraid of losing what is precious to them. Claude decides to trust his new nanny. Sarah is glad that despite his pain, he's trying to open his heart once more. Despite Sarah's chaotic arrival at the Ambrosia Duchy, the Empire's gossip circles remain quiet. None of the servants dare speak of her arrival as a magician. Their loyalty is to the Ambrosia family. Meanwhile, Claude nervously practices his etiquette. This is his first breakfast with his father. He can't afford to mess this up. He desperately wants to make a good impression, so Sarah tries to make him comfortable. They make a small bet. Guess what the Duke will eat first, the bread, stew, or salad? Claude chooses bread, and Sarah chooses salad, with a prize for the winner. They finally enter the dining hall she prepared. Claude is amazed. The room feels comforting, not intimidating. He's never met anyone like Sarah before. A moment later, Ethan arrives and greets Claude. Sarah cheers for the boy, making him the happiest he's ever been. Ethan then insists Sarah sit and eat with them, but she politely states she is only a nanny. But the Duke feels her intense gaze on him. Suddenly, Claude accidentally knocks over a glass of water. Claude panics, terrified this clumsy mistake will make Ethan hate him more amid the suffocating silence. So Sarah decides to dine with them, even if it breaks the etiquette between those of high and low status. Model. She reassures him this might be the Duke's first meal with someone like her. After all, the Magic Tower is filled with explosions, not silence. As they talk, Sarah puts meat on Claude's plate, easing his tension. Then the Duke suddenly does the same. Claude blushes, eating the meat with pure joy. Sarah realizes Ethan cares for his son more than she knew. Ethan asks why Sarah is so fond of Claude. She smiles, saying he's dignified yet adorable. Claude looks flustered, wishing she'd stop teasing. Still, Ethan is grateful someone finally cherishes his son. His carriage arrives, a sign that he must depart. Sarah pushes Claude to see his father off properly. A small smile graced the Duke's lips, surprised by Claude's heartfelt words. And so, with the staff bowing, they gave him a grand farewell. For the first time, Claude felt true happiness sending his father off. Then, Sarah boldly moves to fix the Duke's tie, but Ethan warns her of his dark power, a force that consumes life. He doesn't want to cause her harm, but she insists. She grasps his hands, and the control ring settles into place. He's baffled by her actions, but immense gratitude fills him. She feels like a miracle sent to save them. With that, Sarah adjusts his tie. Ethan notices then how fragile she seems, how easily he could break her. Without thinking, Ethan's hand gently caresses her cheek. Could this be the spark of something new? She smiles and thanks the Duke, then returns to a patiently waiting Claude. Ethan remains suspicious of her true motives. Meanwhile, Sarah encourages Claude to send his father a final farewell. Their eyes meet for a moment, a silent, uncertain exchange. Sarah just wants Claude to have a normal family life. Simple greetings, meals together, and shared moments. Claude summons his courage, wishing his father a safe journey. A blushing Ethan thanks his son for the send-off. He promises to return safely. Claude's face lights up, excitedly telling Sarah everything. He is utterly overjoyed. Sarah then presents a gift to the boy for winning their bet. It's a letter from the imperial family, meant for the Duke. Sarah had used her magic to snatch it while fixing his tie. Without it, he cannot enter the palace. The servants tremble, fearing the Duke's wrath. Claude is stunned by her mischief, but Sarah just laughs. It was all a clever plan so Claude could return it, creating more precious family time with Ethan. Later, May complains bitterly about Claude while washing sheets. Sarah confronts her directly about this hatred for the young master. May reveals she never received such affection. For her, that kind of love was an impossible luxury. Sarah begins to understand the depths of May's abuse and fear. But Sarah knows May was the one who stayed when Claude's power went berserk. May confessed she couldn't possibly hate him more. She knows Claude is despised, yet sees he's just like her. Sarah asks again, why does May truly hate him? May admits it's because Sarah arrived. Perhaps she feels she has lost the boy she protected. Such a troubled, complex soul. May also secretly saw Sarah purify Claude's energy and then vomit blood from the strain. She worries if Sarah will die, as the curse clearly strains her body. Is it concern? May wonders if Sarah would die. She questions if Sarah is after the title of Duchess. In response, Sarah uses magic to splash water on her. She reminds May that she and Claude are not the same. May wallows in self-pity, feeling small as a mere baron's daughter. While Claude is a young duke, May nearly stumbles, but Sarah catches her. Claude calls out, and May's concern for him is obvious. To ease her trauma, Sarah tells her not to carry her father's sins, but to remember her mother's love. Her words leave a contemplative May frozen in place. Later, Sarah and Claude head to the palace to return the letter. The moment he spoke his father's name, the mighty gates swung open. The imperial palace was breathtaking. Claude's eyes sparkled with wonder, his first time in such a place. Noble children are forbidden from entering the palace before their debut. They can only visit when accompanying their parents. Children often boast about how many times they've been. It's a measure of their parents' affection. It's all Claude has ever wanted. He just yearns to be loved. Claude runs ahead, filled with pure joy. Seeing him so happy, Sarah vows to bring him to the palace more often. As Claude sprints forward, Sarah warns him he is heading in the wrong direction. But Claude turns and collides with a man. He has the same hair, but his eyes burn crimson, the mark of the imperial family. An imperial? Sarah rushes to protect Claude as the man's shadow towers menacingly over them. Meanwhile, Ethan receives a chilling report. Sarah and Claude have encountered 𝒂𝒅, the first prince of the empire. 𝒂𝒅 recognizes Sarah. With a cruel smile, he draws his sword, noting it has been 6 long years. She knows his unhinged rage is born from ambition. A throne his own father has denied him. Now, the prince is desperate to regain the emperor's trust, which he foolishly broke. 𝒂𝒅's gaze is filled with malice, but Sarah faces him with an unnerving calm. When he threatens to dispose of her, Claude's heart shatters. He believes this is his fault, just like with his mother. Sarah instantly comforts the boy with her magic, offering a brave smile, a sight that only fuels 𝒂𝒅's rage. He swings his blade at Sarah, but as it descends, Ethan intercepts. The prince's sword shatters, leaving only a small wound. A mad laugh escapes 𝒂𝒅's lips. Ethan holds back his full power. He knows 𝒂𝒅 sent the intruder to probe the secrets of Ambrosia. Revealing his strength now would unite the other princes against him. He'd be dragged into the succession war and branded a monster. But seeing Claude's tearful face shatters his restraint. A storm of dark magic erupts, slamming 𝒂𝒅 to the ground. Yet, the prince still laughs, calling the child a monster too. Ethan wonders how he expects to survive. They are alone here. If a prince vanished, who would know? Fear grips Sarah. Without his ring, Ethan is on the verge of losing control. She pleads with him to stop, reasoning that it's not good for Claude. But 𝒂𝒅 continues his taunts, mocking his bond with the boy and even hinting at a tie to Claude's mother. He's baiting Ethan into a fatal error. He knows the Imperial Knights must have sensed that powerful magic. The sound of footsteps unnerves Ethan, much to 𝒂𝒅's delight. He screams that the Duke has attacked royalty. Suddenly, a barrier surrounds 𝒂𝒅. Sarah has healed him, leaving herself the only one injured. And just in time, the nobles and Imperial Knights have arrived on the scene. The crowd listens to Duke Jade's words and pieces it together. Kaiser attacked Sarah and even threatened a child. The prince tries to blame Ethan, but the nobles have already been convinced of the truth. Even the knights obey Ethan, escorting Kaiser away to protect his image. Kaiser rages. But a single presence silences everyone. Emperor Carlo has arrived. He rebukes his son, ordering him away, then requests a private audience with Ethan about the incident. Just then, Sarah collapses. While they wait, Ethan sees Claude's vacant, haunted expression. Before his father, Kaiser desperately defends himself, screaming that he witnessed Ethan's dark power and was healed miraculously, leaving no evidence behind. But the emperor merely tells him to be silent. He points out his foolish mistake, one even Sarah knew not to make. No matter his goal with Claude, he only made himself a laughingstock before the other nobles. And yet, the emperor sees an opportunity in this chaos. Once the people find an enemy, they don't let go. He orders Kaiser to destroy those blocking his path. At that, Kaiser understands. Ethan's power, it's like the forbidden dark magic from legends. The emperor's plan is set. Force Ethan to use his power in public. And it's checkmate. A sinister smile creeps onto Kaiser's face. A scheming father and son. A terrible storm is brewing. Meanwhile, poor Claude falls into despair, blaming himself for Sarah's pain, believing his happiness ruins everyone he loves. Fortunately, Sarah awakens, immediately comforting the heartbroken boy. She warns Ethan not to heal her too quickly, to avoid suspicion. He wonders how she can go so far for Claude. They find Claude has a fever. Too weak to move, Sarah asks Ethan to hold the boy in her place. But with Ethan's control ring broken, he didn't dare. Claude hands him the imperial pass, their very reason for being there, and a wave of affection hits Ethan for the sweet nephew who sees him as a father. At Sarah's urging, they embrace once more. This time, Ethan's hug is filled with genuine warmth as Sarah watches, her heart swelling with pride. When the carriage arrives, Ethan gives a parting kiss not just to Claude but to Sarah as well, leaving her completely stunned and blushing. Night falls across the estate and Sarah has just settled Claude into his bed. Ethan is there, his voice soft as he reminds her that she, too, is a patient who needs her rest. Their quiet conversation stirs Claude, and they gently tease the boy until he hides under his sheets, completely embarrassed. Sarah asks Ethan to comfort him, but his grand solution is to buy Claude a diamond mine, a truly excessive idea. Soon, Claude drifts back to sleep, and Sarah invites Ethan to gently pat his head. He hesitates, afraid of his own power, but trusts Sarah when she assures him that his energy is currently weak enough to be safe. Sarah remarks on how quickly children grow, knowing deep down how much Ethan treasures the boy. To him, Claude is precious. Yet, a shadow lingers in Sarah's mind. Will Ethan still meet the tragic end she wrote for him at Claude's hands? Or become the monster who ruins everything? As her own magic slowly consumes her, the story deviates more and more from the novel, making the future terrifyingly unpredictable. Can the world's grim fate truly be rewritten? It doesn't matter. Because right now, Ethan is the most dangerous variable. And he suddenly asks about the nature of Claude's powers. They're still dormant, so Ethan resolves to vanish before they awaken. The Ambrosia curse devours the stronger power. He believes his absence will trigger Claude's growth, a cruel lesson he learned from his own cursed past. Even Ethan cannot fathom the depths of his own power, a raging storm that takes all his will to suppress before it consumes his very life. His father once experimented on him, seeking to make himself stronger. It's a thirst Ethan will never let Claude experience. The moment Ethan describes the power as a thirst, something clicks for Sarah. A spark of hope ignites in her eyes. Ethan is shocked by her sudden fire, even more so when she musters magic despite her frail condition. Sarah finally sees the truth. Both the future Ethan she saw and the novel's Claude suffered from this same insatiable thirst. Claude's power was born from self-hatred, a void that was only filled when he met the original story's heroine. Her love was the cure that quenched his thirst, causing the Ambrosia's terrible power to fade away. What if I can cure your thirst too? She begins to craft a new ring, and Ethan feels the same comforting energy as his old one. Sarah pleads for him to stay, to be the loving father figure Claude desperately needs. A future where he can be happy. Simply because his nephew loves him, that is the future she promised. Memories of his father's cruel love meant only to strengthen his own power. Flashed through the Duke's mind. That trauma had twisted his understanding of affection, but now he finally sees the purity of Claude's love for him. He admits he never knew the depth of his nephew's feelings. For the first time, he dares to believe a happy future is possible. Still, he insists she ask for something in return. unaccustomed to such unconditional kindness. Her request is simple. She wants him to call her by her name, to help Claude feel more like he's part of a real family. Ethan's stiff formality with her wasn't helping them grow closer. He grants her wish. A happy Sarah then dives into bed with Claude, politely kicking the Duke out and leaving him utterly baffled. But later that night, Sarah awakens with a violent cough, spilling blood onto her sheets. She pushed her magic too far, draining her own life force to its absolute limit. A chilling thought crosses her mind. When will I die? She's in so much pain, she doesn't even notice May enter the room, gathering the blood-soaked evidence of her sacrifice. The maid has seen how much Sarah is enduring for them, and she wants to help. May professes her desire to serve, but Sarah is wary. Why, she asks, should I possibly trust you? Desperate for this chance, May admits she grew to cherish Claude during their short time together, as she was the one he confided in. She insists she can be useful, her quick wit perfect for helping Sarah hide her worsening illness. May truly believes Sarah, that her father was the villain, not her. She wants a chance to prove she is not useless, like he always said. Sarah looks her in the eye, her question cold and sharp. If I ordered it, would you betray Claude? Shocked, May quickly realizes this is a test. She stands her ground, declaring she would never do such a thing. Her loyalty is to Claude, and now to Sarah as well. A faint, knowing smile touches Sarah's blood-stained lips. It seems May's loyalty has been accepted. Together, they clean the room while the young lord remains blissfully asleep. Gazing at his innocent face, May's betrayal felt like a dagger in her own heart. Perhaps her hatred was misplaced. As an offering, she gives Sarah the young lord's favorite flower. Sarah hesitated. Should she trust her? May was fated to be Claude's guardian in the original story. So, Sarah resolved to train May herself, to truly protect the young lord's future. Sarah knew May overheard her, but revealing her true identity was forbidden by a sacred pact. Trusting in fate, she let it go. Suddenly, her consciousness began to drift into darkness. She found herself hovering over another body. Her original self, helpless in a Korean hospital. Her old body had 2 heart attacks, mirroring the moments she'd used immense magic. A dark thought emerged. If her old body died, all its power would become hers. She could finally break the curse. Her hands moved to end it, but she froze. A single tear escaped her other self's eye. Their gazes locked across dimensions. Sarah jolted awake, gasping, her own heart pounding. That spiritual connection was terrifying, but her shock was shattered by the sight of Claude, weeping by her bed. The entire household was in a panic. Their relief at her awakening was overwhelming. May delivered the shocking news. She hadn't just fainted. She'd been unconscious for 3 whole days. Her soul had crossed worlds. Had a universal law shattered? She pushed the frightening thought aside for now. Just then, Ethan rushed in, his composure gone. She gently reminded him to use her name. But his news was even more startling. It had been 5 days, not 3, with one brief moment of consciousness. Her body moved while her soul was gone. She recalled nothing, a chilling mystery taking root. She had no idea what her powers were capable of, or the danger this new phenomenon posed. It felt just as terrifying as the mystery of the ambrosia curse itself. Ethan confessed his desperation. He had nearly contacted her family for help. His gaze was full of raw concern. He offered to summon her family's doctors, even the temple. His sincerity shocked her. She quickly changed the topic to the Kaiser incident, and Ethan cleared the room. His first question was exactly as she'd predicted. He feared his accursed power was the cause. Sarah denied it was the ambrosia power, though a sliver of doubt remained in her own heart. She offered a logical excuse. Blood loss and magical exhaustion were to blame for her 5-day slumber. This kind of collapse, she insisted, was quite common among powerful witches. Even doctors knew this. Pointing to the mages sleeping in the tower, Ethan was skeptical, but had no choice but to trust her. But his mother's cruel words still haunted him. He was convinced his cursed existence was the true reason. Seeing his pain, she broke the spell. She vowed to stay and watch over Claude no matter what. Therefore, she would be fine. But in truth, Ethan had been consumed by a suffocating anxiety. He was terrified for Claude's sake if she disappeared. He didn't know when he'd started hoping. He just needed her to live. She was the first salvation in his cursed life. He had to know why she'd risk it all. Why go to such lengths for the child? Her answer was disarmingly simple, because she had fallen for him. She saw a soul who desperately deserved to be loved. Hearing this, little Claude's tears began to fall. She begged the Duke to show his son affection. Lost for words, Ethan could only call her their miracle. Changing topics, Ethan revealed the Emperor had issued a formal apology for the recent attack. This meant she and Claude were invited to the palace. The scene shifts to a hidden chamber, aglow with a magic circle. Here, we meet three powerful magicians. They are Sarah's disciples, with one goal: find their missing master. Olivan, the green-haired mage, makes his entrance. He finds Benjamin with his fiery red hair, deciphering their master's notes within the glowing circle. Baluna, the third disciple, watches on. She remains calm as her two comrades immediately begin to argue. Olivan had come with news. Their master's tracking stone had finally shown a reaction. But he taunts Benjamin, refusing to give details. In a flash, their argument erupts into a deadly fight. Olivan dodges a lethal blow, yelling for Baluna's help to restrain the enraged Benjamin. Soon, other mages arrived, inquiring about any news of their master. They were not his disciples. One elder casually suggested they give up, and Baluna's rage erupted in a blast of powerful magic. Her shocking power silenced even Olivan and Benjamin's constant fighting. Her terrifying power shattered the tower's warded walls, proving she was just as unhinged as them. She warned them to stop this pointless bickering, or face the eternal truth vault once more. Olivan sneered that he'd have found their master sooner without that imprisonment. But he's also hunting the source of that unknown power, to make it pay for their master's suffering. Unfortunately for him, Baluna's endless nagging finally breaks him. He screams that he knows where the master's stone is. Through his tears, Olivan confesses, their master is in the Crumble Empire. Their master, Sarah, has a soul split in two, linked by magic stones. Olivan holds one of them. His stone is tied to her soul in this world, the other to a soul in another dimension. When their master casts magic, she drains life from the soul that is fated to die in that other world. So, for his stone to react, the one connected to Sarah here, it means their master must be using her own power in this world, not the other souls. This is impossible. They know she sealed her immense power away, never to be used again. But we know Sarah is only using Box mana, intending to die with it. The two souls can only truly connect when their bodies are swapped. Sarah inhabited the other body for 6 years, which is what made Olivan's stone react. Their only theory: something must have happened in the Crumble Empire, but Olivan's faith is wavering. He coldly declares they are worthless to her, that she feels nothing for them. His words are met with Baluna's immediate and seething hostility. But Olivan stands his ground. They've never seen their master's face or heard her voice. Their only purpose was to research that power, cementing his desire to find its true source. Still, they agree to find their master first, but Benjamin is wary. A hooded figure has been watching. Their blocking magic hid the details, but he knew the disciples were plotting something dangerous. This spy reports directly to Sarah, whose own magic crackles in anticipation of Claude's guests. The Crown Prince has planned a so-called apology party. Held in the gardens for a modest image, both Sarah and Ethan know it is a blatant trap. But Ethan sees an opportunity, a chance to ensure Kaiser never inherits the throne. Everything is to protect Claude's future. Sarah knows all too well how much Kaiser despises him. Yet Ethan gently offers to cancel everything if Sarah does not wish to accept the apology. But Sarah insists the choice is not hers alone. It must be Claude's as well. They await his decision as Sarah vows to protect him whatever he chooses. Later, she is with May. She notes that Rhonda is the one helping Claude prepare, not May. May still hasn't earned back the trust to be near Claude, but she is desperate for forgiveness. May asks who Claude will meet, and Sarah lists the young masters of several noble houses. May confides that it might be a bad idea for Claude to meet them. The scene cuts to Claude. Having decided to accept the apology, Claude now faces the other noble children. Young Naven immediately begins mocking Claude, mistaking the servant's caution for fear of him. It's clear his own father, a man subservient to Ethan, shows him very little affection. Desperate for his father's praise, Naven believes intimidating the Ambrosia heir is the key. As they all sit for tea, Naven relentlessly flaunts his own status before the quiet Claude, bragging about gifts and hunting. Claude's passive nature only fuels the boy's arrogance, a child spoiled by having every whim obeyed. Why should he obey his father's command? He taunts Claude's lack of sword skills, offering a table knife as a grave insult. But Sarah's arrival is a lifeline for Claude, though Naven just sees another target. He's fatally unaware of her status and the Milan family's power. He pushes the knife on Claude again, but Sarah intervenes with calm words of warning. The boy foolishly argues that a simple table knife is harmless. Sarah lets it drop with a flash of magic, shattering the stone at his feet with zero malice. Now that's a lesson served perfectly. Some nobles need to be taught their place. Naven insists it was on purpose, but her innocent expression is utterly flawless. Even his friends won't defend him against Claude's nanny. Yet, she still apologizes. His pride stung. He tries to pull the knife free, desperate to prove he isn't afraid, but it's stuck fast. So he vows to never return, much to the staff's hidden delight. In that moment, Naven realizes his threats are completely empty here. The bullies finally leave, and Sarah is relieved Claude is safe from their torment. She realizes she misjudged the children's dynamics before the upcoming party. Still, Claude's well-being is everything. She reveals May was the one who called her. The insults were fake, but Claude feels hated. Sarah explains it isn't truly about him. It is their own unacknowledged feelings being projected onto him. And why? Because he is the treasured son of the world's most feared man. Finally, Claude smiles. Sarah teaches him to always share his feelings with those he loves so they can understand. Afterwards, Sarah takes Claude by the hand and gently leads him away. Using her magic, she lifts them into the sky, shocking the maids below. Flying high, Claude asks about her lesson, so she recalls when he first disliked her. But his truthfulness back then was actually a good thing. It drove her to work hard to become indispensable to the young master. Claude sweetly confirms he doesn't hate her now, making her laugh with pure joy. Soon, they spot the market below. He's excited to go, but Sarah warns that his noble aura might attract trouble. Sarah is struck by the incredible depth of Claude's trust in her now. It's the same with Ethan, who is far more guarded with his trust. Their faith in her is a joy. Claude's question about changing clothes pulls her from her thoughts. With a touch of magic, she conjures commoners' clothes for them both. But Claude's elegance shines through. Seeing him eye some candy, she sweetly buys him one. Then, he spots another child, a hooded blonde boy, crying all alone with a familiar symbol. The same pattern, she wrote, belonging to the character destined to be Claude's rival. It's 𝒂𝒚𝒆𝒅, the third prince's son. But he's appeared far too early in the story. Claude, however, is only filled with concern for the crying child. But Sarah is conflicted. Letting these two meet could change everything. 𝒂𝒂𝒚𝒆𝒅 is fated to rebuild the empire, after Claude nearly brings it to ruin. Immense guilt washes over her for the tragic lives she wrote for her characters. It's why she must try to soften their harsh fates whenever she encounters them. Sarah asks Claude what he wants to do. He wants to stop the boy's tears. Guided by her lessons, he befriends 𝒂𝒂𝒚𝒆𝒅, and the two exchange names. 𝒂𝒂𝒚𝒆𝒅 confesses he's crying because his father failed to show up for their meeting. Sarah knows the truth. The third prince is busy plotting for the throne. Leon was never the type to seek the throne for himself, but for his beloved, an Eastern slave, and their child, 𝒂𝒂𝒚𝒆𝒅, he would grasp for a crown to shield them. Still, it was a path doomed to tragedy. Once Leon became king, Claude was fated to destroy everything. As Sarah watched the children, she wondered, if they never fought, could this tragic story ever change? It appeared 𝒂𝒂𝒚𝒆𝒅 had slipped away from his residence, coming to the bustling market alone. Claude tried to give 𝒂𝒂𝒚𝒆𝒅 advice, suggesting he tell his father how much he misses him. This led to a misunderstanding, but the two lonely souls found a strange familiarity in their shared pain. A blushing Claude proudly mentioned his own nanny, allowing Sarah to finally introduce herself to 𝒂𝒂𝒚𝒆𝒅. From his reaction, 𝒂𝒂𝒚𝒆's bond with his own nanny was cold and distant compared to Claude's. To comfort him, Sarah offered a sweet candy, just like the one Claude enjoyed. Thankfully, he loved it. Sarah realized that 𝒂𝒂𝒚𝒆𝒅 was a much better friend for Claude than Ruth Naven. Their connection was instant, but a cold dread filled her. She knew that a friendship between them would only lead to ruin. As the novel decreed, a bitter feud between the princes would tear them apart, and Ambrosia's involvement would be unforgivable. With a heavy heart, Sarah came to a grim conclusion. For their own sakes, they must not become friends. It went against her very being to tear children apart, but she had to. Just like her own desire for a simple life was destroyed by fate, she had to intervene. She called Claude's name, shattering their moment. Claude obeyed, but not before whispering a secret promise to 𝒂𝒂𝒚𝒆𝒅 as they parted ways. Meanwhile, Kaiser was speaking with Viscount Naven about his son's incident with Claude. The Viscount argued they shouldn't meddle in children's quarrels, defending both boys. It was obvious the Viscount was one of Kaiser's lapdogs, bound to him only by fear. Kaiser gave him one last chance to prove his loyalty, a task that visibly broke the Viscount's spirit. Late that night, Claude diligently memorized noble names for the Crown Prince's apology party. Sarah had told him not to push himself, but he was determined to make Ethan proud. Yet, his vow to be perfect couldn't hide the terror he felt towards the crowd. Despite his fear, and knowing the apology was a lie, Claude still desperately wanted to hear it. He was still crushed with guilt that Sarah had been hurt because of him. He planned to apologize to her with all his heart. The sun rose, and the day of Kaiser's apology party had finally arrived. Anxious whispers filled the air, centered on the appearance of Duke Ambrosia and his son. It was no surprise, as Claude was the one Kaiser was meant to apologize to. The real object of gossip was Sarah, hidden behind a veil, her noble status a complete mystery. Her character was supposed to be in seclusion, hence the disguise. She sighed. They would gossip about her regardless. Claude had been given his role for the party, and his knight Kyle gave him a word of encouragement. But for a child, sitting quietly and doing nothing was absolute torture. His mind replayed 𝒂𝒄𝒅's most important warning. For this party, safety was everything. No showing off, nothing risky. The etiquette she taught him wasn't for earning praise. It was so he could always feel her protecting him, a comfort against the lonely future that awaited. Suddenly, a rustling in the nearby bushes startled Claude from his thoughts. Seeing that Kyle was bored out of his mind, Claude decided to investigate the noise himself. This was the exact opposite of being safe. He slipped from his chair, noticed only by 𝒐𝒂𝒚𝒆𝒅. Sarah was already checking the party food for poison. After checking the drinks, Ethan appeared, informing Sarah he had vetted the attending nobles. They both came to the same, unsettling conclusion. There was nothing suspicious. Ethan assumed the party was simply a command for the nobles to keep their mouths shut. Yet, Sarah couldn't shake her anxiety. There had to be a deeper reason for all this. Everyone saw Kaiser as the aggressor. It was a mistake any child could recognize. But she knew better. Ethan's forced apology rings hollow. Sarah despises it, knowing this only paints Claude in a worse light. A wave of guilt hits her. She was the one who led him into this trap. But she reminds Ethan that his own prolonged absence has also drawn the public's scorn. So who is truly to blame? Then, Kyle bursts in, reporting Claude is missing. Rage ignites. Ethan draws his sword, but Sarah instantly holds him back. She pleads with him not to fall for the prince's trap, knowing they are being manipulated. Sarah makes him face the truth. Their absence is the reason Claude is gone, and this rage will lose him forever. Barely suppressing his fury, Ethan warns Kyle to pray for his life if any harm comes to Claude. With a chilling voice, he asks about the search. The grounds are clear, except for the forest. But Claude isn't just lost. He's wandering deeper into the woods with a purpose. He and Alexa had secretly planned to meet. Just then, Alexa escapes his nanny, rushing to find his friend. But it's not Alexa who appears before him. It is 𝒐𝒂𝒚𝒆𝒅. What could he possibly want? Startled, Claude shoves him back. Curiously, Ruth remains on the ground, making no move to get up. Back at the lavish party, Viscount 𝒂𝒂💧 listens to the insidious whispers of the nobles. They assume Duke Ambrosia is pleased with the imperial family's public apology. But they truly blame the Duke's family for involving a mere child in this political mess. Just as the Viscount decides to find his son, the Crown Prince Kaiser makes his grand entrance. A cruel smirk plays on his lips after a whisper from his guard. Before he addresses the crowd, he feigns disappointment, mockingly noting that Duke Ambrosia is nowhere to be found. He declares the party will go on without its guests of honor. Back in the forest, Ruth dares Claude to strike him, accusing the young Duke of only pretending to be innocent. Apparently, his father had ordered him to come here and formally apologize to Claude. But Ruth firmly believes his own father is at fault, inviting Claude's wrath instead. And that's when something inside Claude snaps. He fires back, pointing out that Ruth is the one twisting the situation and lashing out at him. He explains he only pushed him out of fear, not anger, and was even about to apologize himself. But now, his anger is real. He declares he won't try to understand someone who refuses to do the same. Sarah's lessons on honesty have clearly taken root. His words finally seem to awaken something in Ruth. He calls out Claude's name, but it's too late. A monstrous beast lunges from the shadows behind him. Elsewhere, a horrified Ethan discovers a blood-soaked scene. His search party has been ambushed. Ethan slays the first creature with ease, but monsters shouldn't even exist in these managed imperial woods, especially during a royal party. More strangely, the beasts seem to be targeting only his knights. Back with Claude, the attacking monster shrieks in pain. A stone has struck it directly in the eye. Alexa has arrived just in time to save him. He screams for Claude to run, but the boy is frozen in terror. Suddenly, a surprising hand grabs him. It's Ruth, pulling him to safety as the three boys make their escape. This is a flicker of true growth from Ruth. But as they flee, the sheer number of monsters is overwhelming. They stop, and Alexa collapses in despair, believing this is their just punishment for disobeying. But it is Claude, shaking off his old fears, who refuses to give up. He rallies his friends, saying their beloved adults will praise them, not scold them, if they make it out alive. Hope renewed, they run deeper into the woods, only to be cornered at the edge of a cliff. With no other choice, they jump. As the cold water swallows him, Claude's last thought is an apology to Sarah. But then, magical chains of light wrap around them, pulling them from the depths. Their savior has arrived. It is Sarah. Meanwhile, in a dark dungeon, 𝒂𝒏𝒄 visits the broken Gym Wood. The prince scorns the man for getting caught, but claims he can make him useful one last time. He then feeds the terrified prisoner to his pet monster, calling it a truly useful death. Moments before finding the children, Sarah had wisely convinced Ethan to split up the search party. She explains that right now, nothing matters more than Claude's safety. The risk means nothing. Sarah helps the children recover from their watery escape. Alexa notes Sarah's magic chains have already bound the beast. Tears fill Sarah's eyes. She feared she was too late. But now, she holds Claude in a tender, comforting embrace. Meanwhile, Crown Prince 𝒂𝒏𝒄 is still waiting at the party. He finally realizes the rumors were true about Claude's disappearance and Viscount Naven's missing son. It seems 𝒂𝒂𝒄 planned this, intending to lure the monsters to the party right as Ethan appeared. But a better plan forms. He'll send a search party for Naven's son to expose Ethan's true nature. Viscount Naven recalls his cruel words, demanding his son apologize to Claude. He had threatened to disown Ruth if he failed to apologize to the Duke. 𝒂𝒏𝒄's sinister words echo in his mind. He deeply questions his actions. Seeing Ruth's trauma, he knows he was wrong. The Viscount finally doubts his own parenting. He then notices the crowd grow restless as the Imperial Guards suddenly mobilize. It is then that 𝒂𝒂𝒄 announces his plan to search for the missing Duke. Naven doubts 𝒂𝒂𝒄's sincerity, clutching a mysterious purple stone in his pocket. The children tell Sarah how the monsters appeared. They then stumble upon Kyle and Jade. Claude apologizes to Kyle, who is just relieved he's safe. But Sarah notices Ethan is gone. The knights claim the monsters won't harm him. In fact, Ethan had single-handedly annihilated every monster in the area. A terrible feeling hits Sarah. She rushes the group to find Ethan. Her fears were justified. Ethan is losing control near the party. His only thought is to kill 𝒂𝒂𝒄 now. But then, Claude's voice calls out to him, pulling him back from the brink. Chaos erupts at the party. Monsters invaded early. 𝒂𝒂𝒄, guarded, smirks when Ethan finally arrives. He instantly blames the Duke for the chaos, accusing him of using dark magic for all to hear. Just as the nobles believe him, Ethan's knights arrive to protect them, shattering 𝒂𝒂𝒄's claims. But the Crown Prince himself is in danger. His guards have been overwhelmed by monsters. Unexpectedly, Ethan moves towards him. 𝒂𝒂𝒄 screams that Ethan is there to kill him. Ethan's sword strikes. But he didn't hit the prince. He killed the monster behind him. Sarah watches, impressed. Ethan turned a crisis into a brilliant opportunity, right before Claude's eyes. But the nobles are in an uproar, demanding a proper explanation for the attack. Caught in the danger, they begin to suspect Ethan might have orchestrated everything. Viscount Naven pushes through the crowd. He sees his son, mesmerized, standing safely by Claude's side. He then captures everyone's attention, revealing the purple stone is an image recorder. It recorded 𝒂𝒂𝒄's damning actions, the armed guards, the cruel smirk as monsters appeared while he was safe. And he is willing to present this evidence against the Crown Prince to the Emperor himself. Faced with his ruined plan, 𝒂𝒂𝒄 wets himself in utter terror. The matter is quickly settled. Nobles and servants alike will testify against the prince at his trial. During the chaos, Ruth finally gives Claude a sincere apology. His father explains he saw his son open up for the first time to anyone, and it was to Claude. The recorder was for Ruth's apology, but Ethan advises him to let the children resolve things themselves. Seeing his son smiling warmly with Claude, the Viscount finally agrees. Later, Sarah asks Claude about the apology. He admits they aren't friends yet, but perhaps there's a next time. He knows Ethan is likely upset, but he's so grateful Sarah came to the party. The scene shifts. Ruth and his father share a heartfelt embrace, their broken relationship finally mending. Within the Imperial Council, the factions fiercely debate the fate of Crown Prince 𝒂𝒂𝒄. The Emperor has made his choice. The second prince will now preside over his brother's trial. As a fitting punishment, he sentences 𝒂𝒂𝒄 to the Elon territory, the very place he once used monsters to attack nobles, a land infamous for its relentless monster hordes. Though factions protest the harshness, 𝒂𝒂𝒄's fate is sealed. He is exiled to that monstrous land. Ethan watches silently as the drama unfolds. Soon after, an invitation arrives from the second prince's circle. He orders Jade to refuse, but learns Claude was also invited, a supposed apology from the prince. Ethan scoffs. Their methods for baiting them are painfully unoriginal. But Jade notes many children Claude's age will be there, a chance for him to socialize. Ethan sees the truth. The second prince wants to claim credit for Viscount Naven's work, using Claude as his pawn. With 𝒂𝒂𝒄 gone, the second prince is the likely successor, and the third prince's faction grows desperate. Ethan's goal to stop Kaiser is complete, but the future remains a chaotic, unpredictable storm. In the midst of this, Ethan hears Claude is with his new friend, Alexa, a name that sends a shiver down his spine. He instantly realizes Alexa is the third prince's hidden son, a secret he believes Sarah doesn't know. He even skips his royal audience, rushing to keep a promise. Meanwhile, Claude and Alexa are lost in a world of paint, observed by Sarah and the maids. They're all thrilled to see Claude's rare smile, and Sarah skillfully deflects any prying questions about Alexa's background. To them, it's just a budding, beautiful friendship. Suddenly, a messenger dove arrives for Sarah. Ethan is on his way. Her heart stops. He must have figured out Alexa's identity. She fears his broken heart won't allow him to trust this pure friendship. Sarah is determined to heal him, remembering the glimmer of hope she saw in his dark eyes. As Ethan arrives, she and Rhonda hurry to meet him. And that's where we leave off for now. What an intense chapter. Show your love by hitting like and commenting below if you need the next part right away. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell for more. We'll see you in the next recap.